Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29 back again for the Super Sons Fortress of Attitude review of Are You Afraid of Darkseid? And I must admit, I really enjoyed reading through this. I mean it, I really did. And I'll definitely show you through the comic as much as I can as possible, connecting to as many stories as possible. But on top of that, before I jump into the first things first, I really like this cover. And I really like how this story was delivered. From the first to last, they all had some good stories in them. Some got pretty high, others got a little bit lower. But apart from that, it's really good. Now, starting off with the cover art, as I've also looked online, there is meant to be a variant cover to this, but I have not seen what the variant cover looks like. As you can see, I managed only to get a hold of the main trade, or the regular trade. It's still good for what it is. And for this cover, I gave a rating of 8.5 out of 10, as yes, it also works with inside with the stories. So now it's time to jump onto the next things, which I'll show you a little bit of art from some of the stories in this. I don't know if I'll be able to cover art from every story, but I'll be able to also give you the rating of the art rating of every story that is in this. So now to the art. As you can see there on the left hand side, we've got the titles of the stories that are here. This is some of the art at the beginning, and I absolutely love this art. And we've got Damian Wayne, of course, in the best Robin suit or Robin costume. And yeah, this is the best costume that actually suits him. But it'd be even nice to see if they bring this costume back with the present costume. Like, even if they just alter the colours a bit, it would be really awesome to see this costume back. So this is connected to the beginning, but the thing is, a lot of this first story interacts with a lot of the additional stories. And you'll understand why I give it the rating I give it when I start to jumping into the story ratings. So, time to move into some of the art of the other stories. So this is connected to the second, connected to the story which Damien tells. If I remember, this is the story that's connected to what Crush shares. The Wallace West story. The Aquaman story, or should we say the Aqualad story. I forget who covers this story. This one was meant to be the story from Roundhouse. And last but not least, the part at the end. One thing I can admit about this, I actually enjoyed seeing this with Damien compared to how he was written by Robbie Thompson and also Adam Glass. I think this is the best we've actually seen of him. And I prefer this than what we actually got in their particular runs. And it's really amazing. So I better get into moving into the story ratings. And starting off from left to right, the left-hand side story covering the first 4, and then the other side covering the last. So for the first story, which also interlinks with the rest of the stories, by Elliot Kalin, with artist Mike Norton, colorist by Alan Pasalacqua and Simon Boland for letters. This first story, which gives us the introduction into everything, I gave it an 8.5 for the story, as I really enjoyed what they did with Damian Wayne as well as the rest of the crew that were there. And it's actually nice to see Damian actually in character instead of out of character. And through that, I also gave the art a 7.5 out of 10. To be honest, this first one started off on a high note. Moving into the second story, which is Bloody Mary. That story, from myself, got a 6.5 out of 10. It was an interesting story, but some parts of it I just couldn't get into. I understand what they were trying to do, but I did enjoy the art, to which I gave the art a 7 out of 10. Now, moving into the Damian Wayne story, Batman and the Mad Hatter in Backseat Killer. Which is the third story. I gave it a 7 out of 10, both for art and also the story. Now, moving into the fourth story, I gave this story a 7.5 out of 10 for the story. For the art, a 7 out of 10, and that's the one with Jon Stewart in it. As we move into The Phantom Stranger, which was told by Wally West, or Kid Flash, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I actually liked the story of it. I liked what it was around. I understand some people don't, but you know what? That's them. That's their choice. And I'm glad they made that choice, if they like it or not. But for the art, I also gave it a 7.5 out of 10. And I felt that sort of actually worked with his character. Moving on to story 7, which is the Ogopogo. I did enjoy that. I gave it a 7 out of 10 for the story. Oh, hold on. No, I gave that one an 8 out of 10 for the story. And a 7.5 for the art. The Phantom one, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. And a 7 for the art. Just correcting that there. Moving into the Aquaman story. That I gave an 8 out of 10 for the art. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm going to repeat that over again in regards to these ratings. Okay, for the first story, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for the story, 7.5 for the art. Second story, Harley Quinn Darkseid, 6.5 out of 10, 7 for the art. Mad Hatter story, 7 out of 10 for story and art. John Stewart story, 7 out of 10 for both story and art. Story 5, 7.5 out of 10 and a 7 for the art. Moving into story 6, that one I gave 8 out of 10 for the story and a 7.5 for the art. I do feel the art could have picked up in some areas, because in some appearances, Jackson Hyde, Aqualad, did not look like Jackson Hyde. He looked more like he was white instead of black. That's an error on the colorist. But I still enjoyed the story nonetheless. Moving on to story 7, the Wonder Woman one, I gave it a 7 out of 10. But a 6 on the art. I didn't enjoy the art that much. But moving on to the last one, story 8, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. And the art a 7 out of 10. Well, until then, I hope you enjoyed this review for Super Sons Fortress of Attitude. The next review that should be going up, I think it's going to be the Challenge of the Super Sons Issue 7 Revisited. I could be incorrect on that, but do stay tuned. And we'll see you again on Super Sons Fortress of Attitude.